All right, so we need to have a difficult conversation here about this team. Not only the Indianapolis Colts themselves, but the way that we as fans talk about the Indianapolis Colts. Because as aggravated as I am to see the product that's been put on the field by this team in the first 2 weeks of the year, and make no mistake, I am, okay? I am a fan just like you are. We're on the same page on that front, okay? We're not happy with what we're looking at from this Indianapolis Colts team. I may be even more aggravated with some of the dialogue that I am seeing from this fan base online. With that said, as upset as it makes me, it does remind me why I made the show to begin with. I don't just come to you with the perspective of a Colts fan. I know it may seem that way on the surface, but it is not just the perspective of a Colts fan. Here's the perspective that I come to you with, okay? And mind you, I don't claim to know everything about the game of football, okay? There are people in this world who have forgotten more about the game of football than I will ever know. That's just the truth. There's always someone that knows more than you, okay? But when I talk about this team, understand that I started watching and playing football at age 5 years old. I played all the way up into my senior year of high school when I ultimately realized I was in no danger of playing this at a competitive level, let alone the NFL level, the college level. I had no shot. Okay, so I understand that. But I played all of those years, and I still quarterback a flag football team to this day. So when I speak about this Colts team, understand that I am coming to you with a football perspective as much as I am the perspective of a Colts fan. So when I talk about what I see from this team, I'm not just speaking about my emotions as a fan, right? I'm trying to tell you what we are actually looking at on the field from the knowledge that I have gained from having not only been a fan of the game, but playing the game, albeit at a much lower level than many others, okay? I do that so that when we talk about this team, we can form an objective, fair, and football-minded opinion about them, okay? That's why I'm here. When you watch this show, understand that I may not have the inside scoop. I may not be the reporter. I may not have the behind-the-scenes stuff that other people have about this team. But when you listen to this show and you listen to what I'm saying to you, the one thing I can promise you is that when it comes to the product that you are seeing on the field, if you listen to this show right here, you will understand what you're looking at better than any other set of Colts fans on planet Earth, okay? That's why I am here. It's not to carry water for the team, and it's not always to view things through rose-colored glasses, okay? If I say it, I mean it. In fact, by the way, and a couple of you know who you are, I take offense to the fact that people think I just come out here to carry water for the team like they're paying me or something like that, okay? I'm out here to tell you the truth, okay? That's why I'm here. That's why you guys keep coming back. Not just because I'm a Colts fan, and not just because we talk about the Colts, but you understand that the opinion that I'm giving you, to some degree, at least is attempted to be rooted in objectivity, fairness, and a holistic perspective about the game of football, okay? That's what I feel I bring. You could tell me if I disagree. Now, with that said, now that we've gotten that part out of the way, let's talk about the topic of today's episode, okay? We're going to talk, of course, about what we've seen so far, okay? I did a poll on the page. I forget how many people answered. Not a whole ton, okay? I asked if Shane Steichen should be on the hot seat. 15%, 1-5, okay? Not a large percentage of people, but 15% of people said that Shane Steichen should be on the hot seat. To put that in perspective, the Colts average around 65,000 attendees per game That would mean that if we were to scale that up, around 13,000 people in the stands that are going to be there this week against the Chicago Bears think that Shane Steichen should be on the hot seat. In theory, we're going to talk about why that's ridiculous. On top of that, we're going to talk about Anthony Richardson and what we're seeing there and why I am not at all worried about his ability to become our franchise guy, why a lot of you guys are judging him the wrong way, the unfair way, and we're going to talk about what the struggles that we're seeing from him are actually linked to. Not theoretically linked to, what they are actually linked to, okay? That's what we're going to cover on today's show. But before we do, you know what it is? I got to introduce myself. My name is Justin. This right here is the Riding the Bench Colts podcast. As always, ask anyone watching on YouTube and enjoying the show, go ahead, shoot it a like. It's going to help me get out to as many Colts fans as humanly possible. And as always, subscribe if you want to be a part of the journey. We are, I think, past 2,700 now. We're shooting for 2,800 before we get to 3,000, et cetera, et cetera. Point being, if you keep enjoying it, go ahead, subscribe if you have not yet. It's going to make sure that you're the first one to see the episode when it comes out. But on top of that, it helps support the show. Audio listeners, 5-star review. Let them know how much you're enjoying the content that I bring to you. But most importantly, let's enjoy the episode. Let's have smart, intelligent, objective, fair discussion about this football team and go from there, okay? And I want to start with the overview of what we see here, okay? Just to put this in perspective, and I know to some of you I'm stating the obvious, okay? But clearly this is not obvious to many. We just watched the second game of a 17-game season for the Indianapolis Colts, okay? That is absolutely nothing. I'm not much of a numbers guy, but you can tell me what percentage of the season have we seen so far? Around 10% at most, okay? What was our view of this team coming into the season? What were our expectations? What was the season all about, okay? Number one, we knew it was unlikely that we won this division and beat out the Texans, okay? That's number one. Number two, we said this season is all about Anthony Richardson's progression. We knew he was going to be a work in progress. We knew there were going to be ups and downs, and we knew things were going to be tough at times for this Indianapolis Colts team. It's not like anyone was saying we were going to the Super Bowl. It's not like anyone said we were going to be 12-5, okay? We're 0-2, and that's it. Sure, the run defense has been terrible, but when you look at the overall picture of things, what exactly has changed with this team from where we were 3 weeks ago? That's an honest question. I want you to answer this honestly. What has changed about the prospects of this Indianapolis Colts team this season and moving forward, as far as we are concerned as a fan base? I think if you sit there and honestly think about that for a second, you're going to realize the answer is not that much. And when I see us talk about a Shane Steichen, I know for most of you guys I'm preaching to the choir, but there's a segment of this fan base that thinks Shane Steichen can be gone, okay? That it would somehow be justified. Let me tell you this about Shane Steichen. Every single offense that this guy has coached has gotten better, okay? From taking over for Frank Reich on the Chargers, working with Phillip Rivers, and then Justin Herbert, from then becoming Nick Sirianni's offensive coordinator in Philadelphia, to coming to the Indianapolis Colts last season, every single offense that he has touched has gotten better, short of 2 games we have seen this season, okay? We went from last year saying, at large, the majority of us saying, this guy has a strong case to be the coach of the year, to now all of a sudden us being like, man, Shane's a problem. He's getting too cute. And maybe some of that stuff is true in the sense of we may not like a play call here or a play call there. But let's not make it like all of a sudden Shane Steichen is some scrub of a coach, okay? Every young quarterback he has worked with has shown improvements. You ask Eagles fans right now who are dealing with Nick Sirianni, you ask an Eagles fans are not happy right now. Ask them who they credit for winning the Super Bowl the season leading in to Shane Steichen being hired by the Indianapolis Colts. Ask who they credit for winning that Super Bowl. Do you think it's Nick Sirianni? Do you think it's Jalen Hurts? Do you think it's Howie Roseman? Hell no. It's Shane Steichen that they credit for that Super Bowl. You have Eagles fans today that wish on everything that that was their head coach, okay? Well over 2/3 of the teams in the NFL would clean house right now if Shane Steichen were to become available as a coaching candidate, okay? That's just the truth. So when you start talking, I understand that you have the convenience of being behind the keyboard and the convenience of changing your opinion next week and nobody knowing, okay? But be fair when you're having this conversation and understand that when you come out and say things like Shane Steichen should be on the hot seat, they need to clear house, he's got to go, this, that, the next thing, albeit a small percentage of you, that small percentage of you sound like you're completely out of your mind, okay? And on some levels, you make it very aggravating for the rest of us to be fans of this team and enjoy this community that we've built online, okay? I just want to let you know what that is. I'm actually trying to help you out. I'm trying to teach you a little something, and at risk of condescending you, that's just what we're talking about. Now, the Anthony Richardson side of things is maybe a little bit more complicated than the Shane Steichen side of things, okay? When it comes to what we're seeing from Anthony Richardson so far, put the stats aside for a second, okay? Now, you can go check Peyton Manning's stats in his rookie year. Now, I understand some may say this isn't Anthony Richardson's rookie year. It effectively, in terms of on-the-field reps, is, okay? He obviously gets the mental reps off the field. There's not nothing he gained from last year. But with a guy like Anthony Richardson, who has played 18 games in his professional football career at the position of quarterback, on-the-field reps ultimately are where you're going to see the biggest strides, okay? I watch every single snap of every single game. So I don't care about the stats, okay? I'm telling you what I'm looking at. Anthony Richardson, which was always the case, right? Nothing has changed, which is what drives me crazy. Nothing has changed, okay? Patience is required with a guy like Anthony Richardson. You look at Josh Allen, right? Josh Allen, by all counts, is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the game of football. Many would say top 3, but top 5 to be agreeable, right? You certainly couldn't argue him outside of that, okay? Josh Allen's rookie year, he hardly completed 50% of his passes, hardly threw for 2,000 yards, had 10 touchdowns and 12 picks, okay? I'm not saying that Anthony Richardson is going to be Josh Allen. I'm certainly not saying he's going to be Peyton Manning. That's not my point. I'm simply bringing these things up to give the necessary perspective and to let you know and to prove to you that you literally cannot at all, with what we have seen from Anthony Richardson, come to a conclusive opinion about where he stands. You cannot know for sure. Now, at the end of the day, there's only 2 options, right? Anthony Richardson's either going to be a good quarterback or he's going to be a bad quarterback. And I guess if you wanted to add layers to that, maybe there's 4 options, right? Great, good, average, bad, okay? But for the sake of simplicity, he's either going to be good or he's going to be bad, okay? Those are the only 2 options that we have. You could lay out evidence for either of those, but what you can't do is make it like the verdict is already out and we already have the answers. If you, which by the way, I wonder how many of you did, if you go watch Anthony Richardson's tape in college, not the highlight reels, the tape, full games versus teams. If you were to watch those games and compare it to what we see now in his limited NFL experience, you'd be equipped with everything you need to know in terms of how quickly he can progress and how capable he is of progressing, okay? The guy we see on the Indianapolis Colts today looks nothing at all like the guy that was playing at Florida. I mean, he's come that far already. He was considered to be a project quarterback of the highest order. He was significantly better than people expected him to be out of the gate. Now, we do see the inaccuracy, and that is a concern. Inaccuracy as a quarterback comes from really 2 things, primarily. 1, poor mechanics, right? 2, and this is the part that gets missed, a lack of certainty in what you see across the field, aka on the defensive side of the ball, okay? which can also result in poor mechanics. And I will explain why, right? Let me just start here before we even get into the lack of certainty. One of the things that I think, right? This is just what I'm looking at. And I'll tell you when I'm telling you something that I know for sure and telling you something that I think I'm seeing. This is what I think I'm seeing from Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson is so talented that his arm is so big that he himself knows he can make every throw in the book, therefore gets kind of caught up not always following through on a pass, just kind of arm throwing it, right? Because when you're trying to throw accurately as a quarterback, right, and if you're getting taught how to throw a ball, one of the things you're going to be taught is to step into it and your lead foot should point at the receiver that you're throwing to. Now, some guys would say that these mechanics are starting to get broken down with time, and they most certainly are. That's not as black and white of a conversation as it once was, but fundamentally, 101, you want to step into your throw, and that step should be towards the receiver with your foot pointed at the spot that you want to throw the football. That would be perfect mechanics, at least as is conventional wisdom, okay? That's just, of course, in the footwork. I'm not talking about the arm. Just talking about that part. I think sometimes Anthony is so good at throwing the football that he maybe gets lazy, and lazy is a wrong word because I know some of the haters are going to take that word and run with it. He kind of just gets caught up in throwing it with his arm, is my point. Is that because he's so talented, he doesn't always need to have perfect mechanics to make a great throw. And in the speed of the game, sometimes something like that is just kind of hard to unteach. That's something that he's going to need to fix. No question about it. That's on Anthony Richardson entirely, okay? But poor mechanics, as I said, can also come from an uncertainty in what you're looking at, okay? And here's why. When you're confident in what you're seeing, it means you're confident in the throw that you have to make, which in theory, based off of the mechanics that I just laid out for you, okay, means that if you're confident, you're going to follow all the way through with the pass. You're going to step in and follow through. When you're not confident in what you're seeing, what's going to happen, and I'm telling you as someone who experiences this right now as a flag football quarterback, you can poo-poo that experience all you want. I'm telling you, drop them back, and they're out there playing defenses. They're switching between man, cover two, the whole deal, okay? When you're not 100% sure what you're looking at, you're not 100% confident in the throw, meaning that you're not always going to be as on point with your mechanics because you're kind of second-guessing whether or not you should even be throwing it into that spot to begin with, therefore having hesitancy in the follow-through of your throw. Now, I said that a little bit quick, but I'm hoping that makes sense. Not just rewind it real fast and listen again, or I could just tell you again. When you're not fully sure at what you're looking at, even if that's 70 or 80% sure, you're going to have hesitancy in your decision to throw, which therefore creates hesitancy in the throw itself, which therefore leads to a rough, sloppy follow-through, a lack of a follow-through, therefore resulting in an inaccurate throw outside of your ability itself, but instead off of what you're seeing. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because that's the only way I know how to explain it, okay? As he starts to see more different defenses, his confidence in what he's seeing is going to build. And therefore, some of those things, in theory, should just work themselves out. Not all of the inaccuracy issues will work themselves out, but as he sees more defenses, he's going to be more confident in what he's seeing, and that inherently, based off what I just told you, is going to make him a more accurate quarterback. That, in part, is how that happens, okay? And that is not what I think. That's what I know for sure. I'm telling you what I know on that front. What you're seeing right now, and I'm telling you what I know again, is not a guy in Anthony Richardson that's cracking under the pressure. He is poised out there, okay? He's having some real good movement in the pocket, keeping his eyes downfield. I think he's doing a better job of that this season in the small sample size than he did last season in the small sample size. This is a guy that's learning on the job, not one that is cracking under pressure, not one that is frazzled. You're seeing a guy that's learning on the job. He is not perfect. He is not a finished product, and his reads are not perfect. But more often than not, his reads are just fine. We have a missed throw problem, not a what he's seeing. problem. Okay, now he may not be fully confident in what he's seeing, but more often than not, he's getting to where he has to go. But as he becomes more confident in it, you're going to see that accuracy start to improve little by little. Now, it's not to say that there's no missed reads. There are. That is the case. And maybe there's a little more with Anthony Richardson than the next at this juncture. But you can literally count on one hand the bad decisions that he made in this last game. And some of you, to counteract that, are going to start listing them. And then what you're going to realize is say, oh, wow, I only have 3 or 4 right here. Okay? The throws with Anthony Richardson should come in time. And even if they don't, what I'm telling you is that with the information we have available to us, there's no reason to feel any differently right now than we did coming into the season. At the juncture he's at in his career right now, the experience level is something that needs to be baked into our evaluation of him as a talent. So when I come out and say I'm pleased with what I'm seeing, it's not pleased with what I'm seeing by the same standard I'm holding a Justin Herbert or a Josh Allen to, or a Patrick Mahomes. It's pleased with what I'm seeing with where he's at in his career and what I know he knows, what I know he's experienced, but what I know that he may not have experienced yet as well. All of that's baked into my evaluation, which is why I say with confidence, we have one under center, because I see the way he carries himself. I see how seriously he takes it. I see the improvements from Florida to now, and I have no reason to believe anything other than the fact that by this time next season, we're going to be looking at an entirely different quarterback. The hope is that it happens this season, and we're going to see how that goes. But I wanted to let you guys know that despite the fact we should not be happy with what we saw, it's also completely uncalled for, some of the stuff that we're starting to see. And you know who you are, and you know what you're talking about, okay? It's unnecessary. It's uncalled for. And when you look at guys like Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson, to even imply that these guys should not be involved or they should be not a part of the future of this team makes you sound, I mean, you might as well go be the owner of the Carolina Panthers, right? That's the type of shit that they're doing. That's not what we're going to do over here. We're going to be smart, objective, and fair about this team, and that right there is all there is to it, okay? So that was an episode. My name is Justin. This right here was the Riding the Bench Colts podcast, and as always, go Colts.